oh my gosh, I'm literally spending all of my money on rent.
Don't live in the most expensive, most updated, perfect apartment. Good afternoon. Oh, he's so sweet. Oh, Gabriel. Look, I had a baby. He's very sweet. His name's Gabriel. I have other videos about this. He's never actually officially made it on cam before, so this is new. Also, we have Hermione joining us, as well as
Hello, guys.
my husband, Caleb. So, today we are doing starting a series about our finances, because this channel is all about how we live frugally, and that includes, obviously, you,
Yes.
our breadwinner, as I currently am taking care of this little one.
Well, you're the bread maker and the breadwinner.
There we go.
There we go.
I like that.
She makes a good, homemade bread, so.
Thanks. I do, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, like I said, we're starting a series about our finances and how we live frugally. And this particular video, we're going to talk about how we're getting out of debt.
Yep.
We have a lot of student loans, which Caleb will talk more about. How we're getting out of debt on one income in approximately 5 years. There are gonna be more videos. We're gonna talk literally we're gonna talk about our budget. We're gonna talk about, break down what our actual expenses are. We'll get really into the nitty gritty, and we're not really concerned about privacy. We won't really disclose your exact salary. This is just what we do. And these are a couple of our little tips and tricks. And basically we're not experts or anything, but we are really focused on getting out of debt. And yeah.
Yes.
So why don't you take it away, sweets?
Yes. Sarah, she graduated with no debt.
Ta-da!
She was the smart one.
No student loans.
She went to the
Can I
private school,
say?
but I also went to a private school, but I ended up with $140,000 of debt. But I do have the master's, so.
You do have a master's degree, which is why you make a bit more money, I'd say, than normal immediate
Yes.
college grads, because you just graduated last year.
Yep. So yeah, like I was saying, I graduated with a lot of debt, as in $140,000.
If you're watching this, you're probably in some sort of debt. But if you don't have that crazy number of student loans, what would we say?
What?
Don't get that much in student loans.
Oh, yeah.
Go to a cheaper school. I think that's what we're gonna make sure our kids do, is
Yes.
don't set yourself up for being right out of college and having essentially a mortgage, especially where we're from. You could literally buy a nice house for $140,000.
Yeah. With that, my loans are, majority of it is private, so it was $100,000. Now we're down to $90,000, and then the public loans is about $30,000. And so currently, with the whole pandemic and everything, the government pulled off interest on all the public loans, so we haven't been paying anything on the public loans because they're sitting interest free. So that's pretty good and nice. So we've been putting roughly $1,900 a month. We do live in Texas with that, so we don't have to pay any state income tax. There's 7 states, I believe. So if you live in Tennessee, Florida, Texas, there's a few others. If you live in those, you're lucky. You don't have to pay any state income tax.
Yay!
Which comparing that,
lot.
yes, which comparing that to if we lived in Illinois, we'd be paying.
Where we're from. We're from Illinois.
We'd be paying roughly $3,000 to $5,000 extra into state income taxes. So,
not having to do that is a huge savings, and I'd say we didn't even factor that into our budget.
Yeah.
We just said great, that's a little bit extra, and I think we're gonna end up putting that toward the student loans too, right?
Yes. When we moved to Texas, we had to find an apartment, and we wanted to live in a good area. Especially since we knew that before we were moving, right before we were moving, we found out that Sarah was pregnant.
Yay.
And so we wanted to make sure we lived in a nice place and just a nice neighborhood. And so
where we could really go for lots of walks, because I'm a walker. I didn't want to live in an apartment complex that had a parking lot. I wanted to be able to go out and have nice sidewalks and go to parks. So that is why we chose the neighborhood in Texas that we did. However, it is a bit more expensive than other parts of Dallas. We could have picked a $1,300 or $1,400 apartment, but we didn't do that. We chose one that was less expensive. We chose a 1-bedroom, even knowing we were having a baby, because we knew it was just gonna be with us anyway the first year.
Yeah.
So yeah, that I'd say is like one of our little tips, things that we're doing is don't live in the most expensive, most updated, perfect apartment. You know, pick one that has beige walls and has ceramic tile. You know, it is what it is. You know, it's not what I would have necessarily picked. However, you know, we save maybe like $300 to $400 a month on rent.
Yes.
That we otherwise would just be flushing down the drain.
So yeah, like she said, you don't have to choose the nicest place, and you don't have to choose the worst place. You can have a happy medium, and you can still have the luxuries of some of the nicer, more expensive places, and you can have not the worry of, oh my gosh, I'm literally spending all of my money on rent.
So of course we'd love to buy a house. We would, you know, having a baby, especially like when he starts walking, I want to have grass for him to like play in and stuff. And I want to be able to paint my house, and I want to be able to do, you know, all that kind of stuff, especially because like that's just who I am. I like to do little projects. I like to get creative, and it's harder to do that in an apartment. That's another thing that we've kind of decided to do is not buy a house, because think of all the money that we want to put towards a down payment that we could just be putting toward the student loan debt and just like getting rid of it. So rather than save up for a down payment, we're taking that money and we're continuing to just push it towards the debt. That's kind of like the major overarching philosophy is like, pay off the debt as fast as you can.
Pay off the debt, but there's also, for my own like feeling of risk and safety, I just don't want to have, you know, the size of 2 mortgages sitting just on, you know, us for right now. I think renting and, you know, paying off as much student loans as we can, you know, that's definitely helping decrease that risk and everything. So
maybe we won't completely pay off the loans before we buy a house, because I would be waiting like 5 years, which would be kind of a long time. But we do want to significantly reduce that debt before we jump into another big loan.
Yes.
And also because with houses, things go wrong, you know, and if they go wrong in an apartment, the apartment fixes it. Like recently our sink just backed up and flooded our whole apartment, which was completely irritating.
Yeah.
But if that had happened at our own house, we would have had to pay for our own plumber. We would have had to pay for the damages done to the cabinets and the floors and all that.
Yeah.
But thankfully we didn't have to, because we live in an apartment.
Another key point of not buying is that I'm not quite sure where my job will take me. You know, it's best to be pretty flexible and be able to move around. I don't know if you know this, but if you live in it for 2 years, if you buy it for $100K and then you sell it for $120K, that $20,000 gain that you have there, you won't have to pay any taxes on it. But if you live there for less than 2 years, then you will have to pay taxes on it. So it's all about, you know, investing at the right time, making sure that you're staying there long enough to get a return on that investment.
Yeah, not to mention how like hot the market is right now.
Yes.
We're also waiting to buy when it's not so crazy and there's not such competition for homes. And so, you know, we don't want to, we always look at the money we're spending as money that we're spending. Like if we buy a $180,000 house, say, we're spending $180,000. And so we're not looking at that as like, oh, how low of a monthly payment can we get? No, I think we're probably going to look at that the same way that we're looking at your student loans, which is let's pay it off as fast as we can.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if that $180,000 house currently in this market is only going to be worth $140,000 in a few years, well, we might as well just wait then until it's that price. So.
And I know this is, you know, kind of sounding like that typical Dave Ramsey talk, but you know, we are kind of inspired by that to, you know, just not have to owe anybody. It definitely puts a different type of stress just knowing that you have those monthly payments, that, you know, anything could happen with that. So we are definitely trying to reduce our debt, but I know, you know, there's things that Dave wouldn't suggest us doing, as in like, you know, we are investing into my employer's 401k, you know, like we're matching their match. And so, that's definitely, you know,
Not
doing
something I
that
would
early on is a huge help. Because if you compare it from when you're 23 years old versus, or, you know,
true.
26 years old versus 23 years old, those 3 years, that could be, you know, depending on how much you're putting in, $50,000 to $80,000 more, or even more than that. So
yeah, the growth is crazy in these early years overall. And we don't want you working until you're 70.
yeah.
No, those are kind of what we're doing in terms of our like housing expense, as well as just overall what we owe and about how much we pay each month to make that go away in around 5 years. Or Minnie. Literally, she always comes out for vids. Like, this girl sleeps all day, as most cats do. But whenever we're making a video, she just likes to come out and join. So yeah, in terms of those other living expenses then, I would say I keep saying like overarching philosophy, but really to just kind of summarize before we go into more detail is that we pay as little money as we can while not sacrificing some comforts. I don't feel poor at all.
Not even
thankfully,
slightest.
yeah, we're very blessed to have the resources that we do, and I know that not everybody has even what we have. But with that being said, we still cook. I cook from scratch like 95% of the time,
which definitely keeps our, you know, monthly food budget pretty low. I know early on we were trying to strive for, you know, eating all of our meals from home, and which we did. We only ate out, you know, maybe once a month after we got settled in to our place, and so that, you know, that helped. Also, now that, you know, it's kind of summertime, you kind of want to go out a little bit more.
Right.
We do have where our Fridays we go out.
Yeah, so that's one thing we do, and as I'm sure if you're a frugal person, you know this. But we're not frugal in like the way of like eat McDonald's off the dollar menu 7 days a week. Like, no. We're frugal in the way that I cook everything, and it's mostly very healthy and whole foods, and we still are able to eat on a very low budget. Kitty cat. So like we said, that's something that we can talk about in a different video, really break down our expenses and our like what we spend in a week on groceries kind of a thing.
Yep. There is a big expenditure that a lot of people do have, and that is a car payment.
Yeah.
And so while I was dating Sarah, I bought a car and paid that off, you know, in a year or so. I had help from my parents, but paid that off. And then once
A little help, but not a ton of help.
Yeah. But once we moved to Dallas, we needed the minivan that they had, and so we've been having that ever since.
Yeah, we've kind of had their not new minivan, like it's a 2006 Toyota minivan.
Sienna, yeah.
She's great. She's a loyal girl, and I tell you what, she's a babe magnet. She's what I first met you. You're driving the babe.
If you haven't watched our relationship video,
go check
we talked
it
about
out.
the babe
that was
magnet.
a couple of years ago that we did that.
The babe magnet now carries a babe and a baby.
Aw, thanks. Yeah. I don't know. Right before we got married, I was thinking, oh, I want to buy a car. So, and I have like, you know, I had a little bit of money saved, and I'm so glad that I didn't buy that car because we're doing just fine with one car during the pandemic. You know, like you don't even go to work every day. So it's like, that's totally been working.
And that's also a money saver, working from home, is that, you know, my commute is, you know, maybe 10 steps to get to my desk versus, you know, a 20-30 minute drive, which, you know, could cost between $5,000, you know, roughly $5,000 a year, just, you know, in fuel costs and oil changes and just all the car maintenance. Like, we're saving money from that. Driving to the grocery store, it's not too far from us. So our transportation, I think monthly is $80, I want to say.
Very low, and we like that. We don't need to have the newest vehicle. That's really everything that we do. However, I have begun to dabble in selling on Facebook Marketplace, just like flipping furniture and stuff like that. And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, or just even going and finding the free stuff.
Finding the free stuff and then selling it. I was taking recycling out to our recycling bins, and there was a bunch of free wall decor. Like, people are just throwing their stuff away, moving out of their apartment.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like particularly cute, but I took it and I listed it on Facebook Marketplace in about 5 minutes, and then it didn't sell right away, but like I've made $20 just off of like some people's literal garbage.
You know what they say, one person's trash is
It's
another person's treasure.
Another person's treasure. I like that
Yes.
you were gender neutral. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see how that continues to go. We have a minivan, so like if I see a free listing on Facebook Marketplace, I'm going over there. I'm loading up that dresser by myself if I have to. And just literally, I mean, you could do something to it. Like I love to paint furniture and everything, refinish furniture. But if I didn't want to, I could sell it for $30 and that would still be like, okay, $30 in an hour. I'll take it.
Yeah.
You know? And then really the goal with all of that money that we could work up from Facebook Marketplace, maybe that could go toward a down payment, you know?
Or just,
Or
you know,
just
it could
continue
help
to-
us to, you know, we could put it wherever we want.
Right.
You know, we could say this time we'll put it towards debt, this time we'll put it towards savings, or this time, you know, we want to go out to eat a little bit more. Just there's other, you know, just to find different ways to make a little extra income, but not having to sacrifice, you know, more of your time.
Right.
Because, you know, being a stay-at-home mom and caring for this little guy, takes up a lot of her time.
Almost,
And,
yeah, a lot
you know,
of my, it's all of
and
my
just-
time.
Yeah.
Except I get like 20 minutes when he naps.
Yes. And then, you know, me working all day, like
Yeah.
I don't necessarily want to come back and do another, you know,
Right.
5 hours of work. So just finding different smaller activities.
I think that'll be our new like weekend hobby.
Yes.
Like, go out and see if we can make some money on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Caleb, for dedicating your lunch break
Yes.
so generously. And we will see you guys soon in another video where we talk about our finances.
Oh, leave you on a cliffhanger. Our lease ends September 8th. Maybe moving back to Illinois
Ooh.
and potentially in with family.
We might.
Yay.
Ooh, that is gonna be
So.
interesting. Oh,
Well, perfect
good
timing.
morning. Good afternoon.
Huh?
Oh, he's so sweet. Oh, Gabriel. You're on camera. You're on camera. Oh,
He's
Smoothie
like,
boy.
it's my lunchtime now.
Yep, Gabriel's lunchtime. Okay, so thank you guys again, and we'll
Yep.
see you soon in another video.
Bye.
Bye.